Over the last couple of years, I've noticed something very interesting. The people who are reaching out to me are not just retirees anymore. They're not just people looking for a cheaper lifestyle, nor are they people that just trying to live out their golden years. More and more, I'm talking to entrepreneurs, business owners, consultants, content creators, and investors. People who are still actively building something like myself. And they're asking these questions about Dominican Republic, not for vacation, but because they're considering a move. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. But the more and more I start having these conversations, I noticed it was a pattern. Something is changing. And it's not just changing here in Dominican Republic, it's happening all around the world. Because for decades, there was this idea that if you wanted to build a successful business, you had to live in certain major cities. You had to be in New York, LA, Chicago, Miami. You know, you had to be where the action was, where the opportunities were, where the important people are. But today, that's becoming less true because the internet, it has changed the rules. And the pandemic, it accelerated that. And now, most businesses, they don't need a physical location. Your customers may be in one city, your team may be in another. And your audience, it may spread across different countries. And when that happens, something interesting occurs. People start considering something that they never considered before. And that question is, what if I don't have to build my business where I live? And for some entrepreneurs, that question leads them right here to Dominican Republic. And no, I don't think it's just because of the beaches. They're moving to build businesses here, to raise their families here, and also to create communities here. I've talked to hundreds of people who are considering the move or helping to relocate and meet entrepreneurs from all over the world. And one thing I realized, entrepreneurs, they're not moving here because they're chasing cheap. They're chasing something that's much bigger than cheap. They're chasing a different way to live, but increasingly they're chasing opportunity. One of the biggest shifts that I see is that entrepreneurs are redefining what success looks like. Success once looked like sacrifice. Work more, sleep less, take fewer vacations, miss birthdays and family events, keep grinding, keep pushing, keep hustling. Then one day you'll be able to enjoy life, maybe. But the problem is, a lot of people got to that destination and they realized something. Yes, they built a successful business, but what they didn't build was a life that they actually enjoy living. I spent more than 2 decades in human resources, and I've watched people climb the corporate ladder over and over again. Promotion after promotion, raise after raise, title after title, only to wake up one day and ask themselves, is this it? And I think entrepreneurs, they're asking that question earlier now. I wish I had to ask myself that question earlier. They're asking themselves, what if I can build my business and enjoy my life at the same time? I'm guilty, Your Honor. Not later, but now. And that's one of the reasons why they're moving here. In the past, people thought moving abroad meant retirement. You work your entire life and then you retire somewhere warm. But that's the old model. That's not what I'm seeing right now. The people that I'm meeting, they're not retired. They're working, they're building, they're creating, they're launching businesses, they're growing businesses, they're consulting, they're coaching, they're investing, they're producing content, they're running agencies, they're managing teams, and they're doing it all from Santo Domingo or Punta Cana or Las Terrenas or Puerto Plata. Because the reality is, a lot of businesses now, they don't need a physical location. Think about it. A content creator can work from anywhere. A consultant can work from anywhere. A recruiter can work from anywhere. A coach can work from anywhere. An online business owner can work from anywhere. A software company can work from anywhere. The internet didn't just change how we work, it also changed where we work as well. And that's create a migration that I don't think a lot of us is fully appreciating as of yet. When people visit Dominican Republic, they realize how different it is than what they actually imagined or what people told to them. People only know the resort version. They knew Punta Cana, they know the beaches. But what they didn't know is that there is an entire country behind those resorts. A country that's growing, developing, and evolving. A country with entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, investors, developers, and innovators. And when people visit Santo Domingo for the first time, I often see this same reaction. They expect beaches, but what they find is a lot of business activity. Construction, modern apartments, co-working spaces, restaurants, shopping centers, malls, infrastructure, energy, and a whole lot of movement. And that movement matters because entrepreneurs are naturally attracted to things that are moving forward, not things that are moving backwards. And here's why I think it gets really interesting. You have some entrepreneurs who move here because of the lifestyle, but you have other entrepreneurs that move here because they see the opportunity. And you know what's funny? Because most people, when they look at the country, they only see what's there. But when entrepreneurs look at this country, they see what's missing. And that's a completely different way of looking at the world. And that's why when I hear people complain about Dominican Republic or even complain just about Santo Domingo, they're looking at it from what's there. They're not looking at it from what's missing here that I can bring to the marketplace. As an entrepreneur, we walk into a place, a city, and we start to notice things. What doesn't exist? Why this process is so difficult? Why is nobody solving this problem? Why is there a demand for this but not enough supply? Why is this service so hard to find? Why isn't this technology more common? And why hasn't somebody built this just yet? That's how entrepreneurs think. And when you start looking at a growing country through those lenses, that's when you start seeing possibilities everywhere. But I want to be clear. I'm not saying that you could take every business from the United States and drop it right here in Dominican Republic and it's going to become successful, because it's not. That's not how it works. A different culture, different consumer behavior, different buying habits, and different expectations. In fact, I've seen people fail because they expect what's successful in the United States is going to work here. And that's not the way to look at it. But that's not the point. The point is that growth creates opportunity. And there are still industries, services, technologies, and business models that don't exist here, that are evolving here. This country is still writing this next chapter. And entrepreneurs, they love that. Because entrepreneurs, they don't look for finished stories. They're looking at stories that are still being written. And one thing that excites me about living in Santo Domingo is I can feel the growth here. You don't need a government report. I don't need to see any statistics. I can feel it. I can see it with my own eyes. The country feels like it's moving. And in growing markets, here's what typically happens. Sometimes you're not competing for market share. You're actually creating the market. And that's a completely different game. In mature markets, everybody is fighting for the same customer. In a growing market, the demand is faster than the supply. And that's what entrepreneurs, that's what they get excited about. Not guarantees, not shortcuts, not easy money, but opportunity. Here's something that I didn't fully appreciate years ago, and that is lifestyle can actually become a business advantage. Think about how many entrepreneurs are burnt out, stressed, exhausted, always working, always connected, always chasing the next thing. But then imagine someone living a place where they genuinely enjoy it. And I'm living proof of that. Back in the US, I was exhausted, stressed out all the time. Here, as I always say, I work more here than I did in the US, but I genuinely love where I live, and it doesn't feel like work. Here, I sleep better. I spend more time outside. I spend more time with my family. I feel less pressured. I feel less rushed. I feel more present, and you have to understand and believe that impacts productivity. It impacts decision making as well. I've had some of my best ideas just sitting at a cigar lounge in the afternoon, or walking through the city, or driving here up and down the Malecon, having conversations with people, just living, not just sitting at an office staring at a wall. Some entrepreneurs are not moving here to escape work. They're moving here because this environment allows them to do their best work. And if I'm being honest, I think this may be the real reason they're moving. Time, not money, but time. Because eventually, successful entrepreneurs, they start asking the question, how much is my time worth? How much is breakfast with my family worth? How much is being present worth? How much is having flexibility? How much is that worth? How much is enjoying an ordinary day? how much is that worth? Because a lot of people spend years building a business because they're searching for freedom. But then they accidentally build a business that removes their freedom. So now we're seeing entrepreneurs reverse engineering their life. So instead of saying, I'm gonna build a business in hopes to enjoy my life later, I'm gonna build a life that I enjoy now and build my business around that life. And that way of thinking has been a massive shift. So why are entrepreneurs moving here? It's not because of the beaches, the lower taxes, the weather, the lower costs. It's because we're living through one of the biggest shifts of how people are starting now to think about work and life. People are now realizing that they don't have to choose between a successful business and living a fulfilling life. They want both. And more importantly, they can have both. Dominican Republic isn't perfect. No country is. But what makes this country interesting is that it's growing and it's evolving and it's creating opportunities. And entrepreneurs have always been drawn to places where things are happening, places with momentum, places with possibility, places where the future still feels unwritten. And maybe that's the real story. Maybe they're not moving here because they think they found paradise. Maybe they're moving here because they found potential. And for an entrepreneur, potential is the most valuable thing in the world. So guys, if you're interested in moving to Dominican Republic and you want to know what the cost of living is going to be, I created what I call the DR cost of living calculator. Links in the video description below. Also, if you want to join an amazing community, I created the DR VIP network. We meet up weekly every month where you can ask me anything that you want. We talk about real estate investing, remote income. We bring in business experts. Guys, the link to that is in the video description below. And don't forget to sign up to both of my newsletters, Live Your Best Life newsletter and DR Insiders Real Estate newsletter. It's packed with information. And until then, guys, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're gonna live your best life. And I'm out. Peace.